Hello. We are ready to start the closing plenary. If you can come on in and take a seat somewhere comfy. Thank you. Please come on in and be seated. Before I start closing plenary speakers, can we please give one more round of applause to ID Tech and the ID Tech? This is such a beautiful space and the food was really, really tasty. So great, right? And it was kind of nice to be somewhere outside of Indianapolis for a change, right? Well, thank you again for making time today. And I want to just again express the fact that we understand that you all are super busy and very dedicated to serving your clients, your participants. And so we understand that you're making a sacrifice today to come here and spend a day with us, or even a half day with us. And we realize that when you come back to your home agency, you're going to be like, oh man, the emails. Oh man, the fires I have to put out because I took one day. So we really appreciate that. And we want you to know that bad props for coming in and being with us today. But you didn't come here to hear me say all that. You came to hear our closing plenary speakers. And so they are in keeping with our theme of partnerships. They're going to be talking to you about some more new partnerships you can build and bring back to your home agencies. They are from Prosperity, Indiana. And this is Ms. Marie Mason and Ms. Kayla Crumbley. And I'm going to let them take it from here. Thank you.
Awesome. So I usually like to do some sort of level set. Thank you. I want to find out how many of you hear the word partnership and say, that's my jam. I love working with people. I love collaborating. Give it to me, give it to me. Wow. All right. How many of you hear that and say, oh God in heaven, never, ever, ever, just let me do my work. Yep. Okay. Interesting. Either some of you are liars or we're going to have a fun time. My name is Marie Mason, and I'm the Capacity Building Director for Prosperity, Indiana. And for those of you who don't know us, we're the state's only network for community economic development. You might ask, what is community economic development? Well, I'll tell you. Economic development usually gets people jobs or factories. Community economic development actually focuses on the people and places of a community. So the employees, the homeless individuals of the community, low to moderate income individuals, and the places, the housing stock, the parks, the social service agencies. And together, not separately, we create prosperity. Prosperity is a network of community economic development organizations. 51% of our members are either affordable housing developers, human service providers or homeless service providers, and financial empowerment agencies. So whether you are or not, whether you know it or not, you are part of the Prosperity Indiana Network. So thank you very, very much. Our members are about 200 organizations strong with 1,200 folks represented, which help people get to jobs, get homes, and experience a quality of life within their communities. We help our members then by providing training, advocacy, and networking services so they can do their job better. So partnerships are a part of our everyday life. from living with my husband, God forbid, long 36 years, pretty awesome, to working with a coworker. They can be internal, staffs getting together to do this, or they can be external. Our agency is partnering with another agency. All of that is challenging, and we do it day to day without even blinking an eye. However, quick show of hands again. How many people think partnerships a breeze? Okay, you're lying. But thank you, I appreciate that. It can be challenging in my experience. It's a little like eating healthy, in my opinion. We all know we should do it. We all talk about doing it. A few of us do it, but even fewer of us do it well. And if you're anything like me, you do it, but then give up if it doesn't work right. So keeping that in mind throughout our conversation, partnership is a little like eating healthy. It can be very impactful when done right, but sometimes we meet those challenges. Let's talk about housing. And I want to focus on housing because that's where we live and breathe and die. But housing is a homelessness issue. Can we all agree on that? But housing alone cannot solve the issue. And we believe in that. Can I get an amen from the chat? Amen. All right, good. Well, sometimes when we work in our silos, it's hard to see that. So I wanted to stress that. Housing alone cannot solve the issue, but community can solve the issue. Anybody want to push back on that? Okay, thank you. But then as service providers, we often try to do it alone, climbing ourselves up these great big mountains to reach our goals, forgetting that partnerships can strengthen us to reach a goal. And I think as we go through this, we can only reach the top with collaboration and partnerships from a wide range of folks. Did you know that there are about 42,000 nonprofits in Indiana, employing about 409 individuals and getting about $60 billion worth of revenue each year? That's huge. That is huge and a huge impact. However, 30% of nonprofits do not exist after 10 years in existence. The financial and economic impact is huge. The costs are high for the numbers of individuals that need our services. And we have to agree that our work is important enough or too important, complex enough or too complex to do it alone. Can I get one more amen? Thank you. So understanding that we can't get there alone, the main point I want you to take home, or one of them, is that partnerships are only effective if we develop, nurture, and administer them with the mind of getting to a shared place or a shared goal. It's great to say let's collaborate on this project, but without that shared goal, without nurturing that partnership, without developing it specifically or intentionally, and without administering it with respect, we don't get to that shared goal. And this is based on 36 years of working in the industry. Every wrinkle on this face is from some sort of partnership, trust me. So, but nonprofits, we have to struggle because to develop, nurture, and administer partnerships, because we might not know or understand that common goal, who's in charge, or what's expected of us. Those are my big three. What's our goal, who's in charge, and what is expected of us. So I'm encouraging everyone here to start with the why, not a mission statement, but a shared expression on why you have to do the work that you do. PI is currently working on a housing stability network with the IHCDA. I don't know if Ray mentioned this in the session that you were in. But the why for PI is the simple fact and the simple message that housing stability is a human right. That is our why. That is what we're working toward. The next step is to develop your how. How you're going to do what you do to fulfill that why. Again, as an example, PI's how for our stability network is to increase capacity of homeless service providers, CAP agencies, and social service agencies to run programs better and to collaborate better. Capacity is a big word. We use it to define the skills, network, tools, and talent to succeed. And success can mean a lot of different things. So if you keep that in the back of your mind, it's kind of one of my go-to definitions. You need skills, networks, tools, and talent, both for capacity as well as partnerships. And then the third step is defining the what. And the what as it related to your why. PI's what will be providing data, training, and technical assistance to the provider network. And then you follow that up with the impact. Our why, what, and how will result in a permanent housing stability network across the state of service providers, CAP agencies, and affordable housing developers, making sure that Hoosiers are housing stable. Now, if I just said, hey, I'm gonna tell you about the school network, anybody want to join? How many would join? Okay, anybody want to join now? I won't be offended if you don't. Okay, I'm sensing it's today. Because I shared the how, the why, the how, and the what. So in short, always start with the why, develop the how, and define the what. This is going to be a little long, but I love this because I think we forget this a lot in our work. Sometimes in partnerships, sometimes in our daily work, we meet what I call the challenge iceberg. We look at things that we can see above the waterline that are technical problems. That need a fix, an expert, or authority. In partnerships, they'd be getting the agenda right, finding out who's there, getting the minutes done. But what is below the iceberg is equally as important. And as we as service providers, we sometimes forget that. The behaviors, attitudes, assumptions, values, past experiences, habits, beliefs, politics, power, cultural norms, and the pace and cadence of our work sometimes is forgotten. And that is okay if you know that technical challenges need technical solutions and adaptive challenges need adaptive solutions. Going back to my example of eating healthy. A technical issue of me not eating healthy would be I don't have access to fruits and vegetables. A technical solution would be getting transportation to the store. An adaptive challenge to me eating healthy is that I think vegetables are nasty. Not really, I love them. But that assumption can be met with me cooking vegetables in a different way, trying new vegetables, and understanding then that even though they taste nasty, they're good for me, and I need at least 1, if not 5 servings a day. So what happens with those technical and adaptive changes and solutions, we tend to mix them up. Oh, a program can solve Marie's issues with eating healthy, when it's really both a technical and an adaptive problem. Sorry, this is a little too soon for those people. But the one thing that really stays partnerships, again, sorry, mom just, is the fact that we are not focusing on what's below the waterline, we're only focusing on what's above, above the waterline. So in short, make sure that your technical challenges have some technical solutions and your adaptive challenges have some adaptive solutions in mind. Great thing about getting power. We can get people around the room, but if one person holds the money, that's only power. So how do you think about that? And just to be clear, and we call that one at a time. This isn't us changing them. Notice that when I gave you the healthy eating analogy, I was talking about changing me. You can help change others, you can change you can change clients, only to a point. This is a framework, not necessarily a solution in and of itself. Follow me? Yeah. So I'm gonna go into just 3 quick things that I would like for you to know. There's tons of resources out there if you Google nonprofit partnerships. Research how to communicate, strategies, who's at the table, all of that you can find on yourselves. I'm gonna narrow it down to 3 very simple things. You need to define, then determine, and follow 4 ups. You need to define what type of relationship. How many of you have been asked to fill out a letter of support for a grant application? Okay, and that's a partnership, right? Well, when I was doing it years ago, Plenary was like, oh, we want collaboration, and it was at 4 o'clock when the grant was due, I would get a call from the department agency, like, hey, can you just shoot me out a letter of support? Sure. That is a cooperative relationship, okay? I'm giving you something, I'm doing what you asked. It is sharing something tangible like office space or something intangible like an idea. It is a limited engagement with the easiest lift. It also has one of the most limited results. Here's your letter, we're good. The next one is a coordinated relationship. We're organizing people around working well together. Again, that relationship is important. It helps. A great example is me working with the Indiana Philanthropy Alliance and the Indiana United Ways to talk about how we can cross-market programs. That's simple. It's cooperative. It's like, it's coordinated. I'll give you my stuff. You put it to your calendar. We're all good. Again, a little higher lift because we have to get stuff to the organization. We're responsible for branding and all that other good stuff. But it is a medium lift with a medium engagement. It's also medium in results. So they see our website, will they really come to our program? Possibly, the result could be increased attendance at the PI program. The third one is collaboration. That's really working with someone to produce something or create something. Collaborative relationships usually have shared goals. They're harder. And their engagement is longer and more complex. They can be very results oriented, but I want to warn you all. In both these final 2 things, there are 2 things I want you to remember. One is an economic term called opportunity costs. Any of you heard that? Okay. The other is the need for resources to sustain both of these. So in a collaborative relationship with the Indiana Philanthropy Alliance, we would go ahead and say, you do this program in March. I'm going to do a follow-up program for my members in April. And by May, we're going to come together for a summit. That's a collaborative relationship. We're working together. But it also starts walking down the path of, well, is that really my mission? That's not my brand. I don't know how to do this. That's not the way we do this. So as more effective you get along these 4 strategies, the more complex it gets, not to be negative. And then the final one is collective impact. How many of you know what collective impact? Ooh, few of you. Okay. It was the reason, guys, collective impact. I tried twice to lead a collaborative impact initiative, both at the time very challenging. But that's a common agenda: shared measures, mutually reinforcing activities, continuous communication, and a strong backbone organization. That's where you get the system change that lots of folks want to talk about. Okay. And I'm getting close to my time, so I apologize. I'm going to run through these last 2 pretty quickly. The last one is to determine your roles. Are you a shepherd or a sheep? Are you one of Malcolm Gladwell's mavens, somebody that just loves to share all the time? Or are you an influencer, somebody that can talk to 3 people and get things done? Or are you a connector? Someone that says, here's my network, I'll be happy to pass that information along. And by the way, share your next fundraiser. Yay. You can be a prophet. You can say, I think home services really needs, or my experience is that kind of taking the message out to people that you maybe or may not have contact with. You can be a catalyst. Ooh, I got an idea. Let's do that. You can be a communicator. And the folks on the ground, the people that I'm working with, not so much with this idea. You can be just a convener. Let's get together and talk about this. Or you can be a communicator. The last up are 4 ups that I want you to consider. First of all, size up the opportunity. Count, count, count. The return on investment. If you're in a partnership that takes 50% of your time, is the investment worth it? It can be, or it can't be. So think about the return on investment. Think about the opportunity cost. What you're doing that you, that will stop you from doing other things to your son. Here's a great example. The Gates Foundation gave millions of mosquitoes nets to a country in Africa. Fantastic. But the opportunity cost was the folks that got the nets started to use them for fishing. So there was a lot of unintended consequences, meaning we wanted this to happen, but guess what? They fished so much that the environment went completely down the hill and they got some fish, but then they overfished. So there are opportunity costs as well as unintended consequences for most things that we do. The next one is to show up. How many of you really look like that when you're on the Zoom call? Come on. Let's be honest. What's smiling? Most cameras are on. Most of you are working on other things. So show up. Do what you say. Be engaged and be a part of the conversation. The last two, the final two are speak up. I know so many people that sit in meetings going, oh, I have to go to my place. Locust Officials, anybody heard of them? They're a homeless service provider in Austin, Texas. They were just highlighted in the Today Show. They said, and I love this, local units of government, state and federal government all have roles in ending homeless. However, the most effective and innovative ideas come from community. And this is an organization thinking outside the box, creating community with container housing. Great example. I want you to remember that as you read. And then the last one is suck it up. I gotta be honest, when I have a bad day working at home and my husband looks at me and says, suck it up, let it go. But oftentimes we don't put our own self-interest aside. Sometimes people can see our face during meetings going, I get called out all the time because I'm an expressive person. But if we suck it up and realize that the issue, the partnership is bigger than we are, you will be so much more effective in your work. Did you all know that 80% of nonprofit funding comes from federal sources? Surprise! 80%. I freaked out when I saw that. So advocacy, both at the local level and the national level, is important. So I'm now going to turn over the program to Hale, 10 minutes late, sorry, to go through a tool advocacy that you can use to create partnerships.
Thank you, Marie. Okay, so we are going to pivot in two ways. One, we are now talking a little bit more about advocacy and partnership. And then I will also note that I do not have as much energy as Marie, so that's a bit of a bit of a little bit lower here, and I apologize for that. Could you go to the next slide? So again, like Marie set me up really well. I want to talk about partnerships as a tool for something very specific, and that is advocacy. That's what I do. So I'm Gail Crumley. I'm the coalition coordinator at Prosperity, Indiana. Same organization, obviously. Look at it. Look, we're partnering right now. It's really good. So as coalition coordinator, I convene our 3 statewide coalitions that do advocacy on different issues. And obviously the one we're going to talk about today is housing. But we also, in case anyone was curious, we do asset building for low-income losers. That includes a whole bunch of things like financial education, savings for the future, public benefits and programs. That's our other time. And then we also battle predatory lending. So that is obviously a big issue. I'm sure you guys see all the time. Those payday lenders that will cash your check right now, but they're going to take a chunk of it. So in case you're interested, let's talk later. But for now, partnerships as a tool for advocacy. So I'm going to share this quote. Collective power concerns the capacity of a group to realize its common goals. It is a combination of organization, cooperation, morale, and technology that allows one group or nation to grow and prosper. Next slide, please. So that is essentially advocacy, that collective power. So we're talking about partnerships all day today, but you can use those for things other than to deliver your services. You can use it to take the next step, and that's what I want to encourage you guys to try today. And I know there are people here in this crowd who are thinking, advocacy is not for me. I am not an advocate in any sort of policy way, and I totally understand that. But I also encourage all of you to remember that your organization has needs, and you are working really hard for those needs. And at some point, you do bump against walls where you can't push any harder and you need someone to take that next step for you. That step is often the law or some sort of policy that you need changed in order to help people a little bit better. So something else that I will know on that is, you have legislators. They're your legislators. They're in your district that you work in. They represent the same people that you feel an obligation to. And also, they don't have your expertise. And I know sometimes they like to think they have all the expertise ever, but they don't. Just remember that. You work more closely in this issue than they ever have and ever will, and they need to hear from you. So that line of communication goes both ways. You need them and they need you. As irritating as that may be, it's also a partnership you need to consider. So, please go ahead. So I want you to consider advocacy as two parts, education and lobbying. That's an important distinction. So education, pretty basic, providing context and additional information about things such as need and impact without making or alluding to a specific ask. So you do this all the time already. Really, really easy. You talk about the program that you work in or that you maybe even created and lead. And you talk about the need in your local community, what the needs for housing, what's not there right now. You do this all the time. When it's advocacy, that education is just happening with the legislator. It's the only difference, not the special. And then lobbying is different. Lobbying is making or alluding to a specific policy ask, asking them to do something for you. When interacting with or facilitating interactions with state and federal legislators. That's really important. So that ask, you need to be aware if you're making it. And I know this is a little intimidating, but that does have time recording requirements. And I know that is scary. I know that's why a lot of people don't want to touch advocacy because they just see it as lobbying. They just are, visualizing either people in mass marches with cardboard signs, and they're like, I don't want to do that. Or you're visualizing people in suit for the state house. And that is really intimidating. You're thinking about time reporting, there's legal requirements, it's scary. I get it, but it has a huge impact and it's really important that you do it. You have to register. So I cannot recommend this enough, and this is the time when you write something down, if you're gonna write anything down. Boulder Advocacy is a national nonprofit program, and they have a hotline with lawyers that you can call anytime for free to double check that you're doing this stuff right. They also have an amazing website where you can just go and read about the policies and how to do it. They make it so easy. This is my job. I'm a registered lobbyist and I call them and I look at their website. So Boulder Advocacy is gonna make it easy for you. I don't want you to feel intimidated about this right now. Right. Oh, yes, it's a Boulder, so not the city, the feeling. So BOLDER, and that's advocacy. Really, really amazing group, driven. And everything we do is free, by the way, so if you want like staff presentation, those are that too. You also see here on the slides of electioneering, we're not talking about that today, but it needs to be up here so that everyone understands it's different. It is really different. That's taking part in or encouraging others to take part in an election campaign. The laws surrounding this are super complex, totally different. I'm not even gonna try and get into it. I'm not qualified to get into it. If you wanted to, again, Boulder Advocacy, but just wanted you to let you know this is different from lobbying. That's all.
And you can use multiple approaches.
Absolutely. So again, advocacy is education and lobbying. You need both really to be effective, and you're capable of doing both. So another little distinction I want to make to help this feel more accessible and more understandable is defining big P policy and little p policy. This is really fluid language. If you ever hear a different definition from someone else, it's nothing official. It's not like written down anywhere super important. This is just language we use to make distinctions and to help you find a place where you fit into this equation. So big P policy, that interactions with state and federal legislators with the goal of influencing public policy. That's the part they have in common, of course. The emphasis here is on state and federal legislators. So state legislators, that is State Senator Fadi Kadora of Indianapolis. That is Representative Doug Miller, Elkhart, those types of folks. And then when you get to the federal legislators, that's Senator Mike Braun. We all know about him, no matter how you feel about that. And then there's also Representative Frank Moran. Again, no matter how you feel about that, we all usually know those folks that represent the entire state, and you can interact with them too. As a nonprofit, there's nothing stopping you. You just have to do a little time reporting. So they are accessible to you. And that is big E policy, talking to those folks. Little B policy is interactions with government agencies and local governments with the goal of, again, influencing public policy. So hopefully the examples come to your mind really easily for this one. When we're talking about agencies, that's hard. That's IHCA, frankly. And I know it may be difficult to remember that those are policy-making agencies, but just remember that when legislators pass bills, again, they are not the experts on all of these issues, that's you guys. So when they pass something, it's usually really broad language, and they hand it down to the government agencies, depending on, which level they're at. And then it's the government agency's job as also experts to make up the rules and design the frameworks. And that rulemaking and designing is also making policy. So when you interact with IHCA at events like this and talk to staff and engage in partnerships, you're kind of engaging in little key policies. You're informing them of what you need and what works and what doesn't work. And the next time they make a rule because a law got passed down, that's little key policy. So that's a really good, important thing to remember too. Please go. I just want to have also that local governments are also a part of this. A lot of you probably do have a partnership with your local governments, that's city councilors and mayors, et cetera. So I made this, so don't boo or throw things. This is the advocacy options matrix. Again, this is all about helping you find your spot in this, because I know a lot of people who are practitioners and are busy with other things don't feel like they have a spot in it. But I can't do it without you. So here's what I'm proposing. If you're one of the people still sitting in the room thinking, this is not for me, my organization is not ready to be doing advocacy on any level right now, let's look at the intersection of little p policy and in partnership. That's this one right here. And what you'll see here is a couple of examples. So we've got submit a comment letter to government agencies. Perfect. So HUD does that all the time. HUD has to propose a new rule because a bid law got passed down, it was too broad. They need this framework. So they have to have a public comment period. And many of you may know this, I don't need to patronize, just for some votes. I've heard a lot before. So when they do this public comment period, anybody can do it. I, Hale, as an individual, employed by no one, could write a letter if I wanted to. And what you do is go on your website, you can either upload it as a PDF or a Word document, or you can just type it in a little text box and say who you are and say, I work at a homeless shelter in South Bend, Indiana, so I know about this and this is not going to work. I need you to consider a different perspective. Or I love this part, I actually been doing something similar on my own scale. And submit that letter, it will affect their role. They legally have to read it and respond and take it into account. So that's something to consider. And then another thing on here is engaging in roundtables with ongoing commitments with local governments and government agencies. So one example I really like of this is a group called Evansville House. And Evansville House, I do not remember what the acronym stands for house. That's not important. Everyone in the room there though cares about housing. And it's this informal-ish gathering that happens once a month. And it's got city councilors, it's got employees from the city of Evansville, it's got a variety of different nonprofit service providers. And they all just meet once a month to talk about what they're dealing with, who they might be able to hand something off to, if somebody's got a better idea, because they're really all working after the same thing. So this is a great option for people who don't feel like they're ready, but it is still policy because, those city councilors in the room, those government employees who are making policy and implementing policy, they are hearing from you actively and it's going to influence what they do over time. So something to consider, you may already be doing it, and that means you really already are in advocacy. So then there's, other folks in the room, I will say, who are really fired up and they want to be heard right now about the issue you're seeing in your community. First of all, please email me, let's talk. Second of all, though, there are options for you too. So then I would look at the intersection of big P policy and individual action. Yep, so right there next to Marie, thank you. So there are options for you too, really anywhere on this, consider it a map. Testifying at the state house in Indianapolis, this one's tricky. I know it involves driving, but it can be really impactful if you've got someone to tell you, hey, there's gonna be an opportunity to testify. Again, call me. So when you do that, it's as easy as it sounds and as easy as it looks on TV. You basically get your name called when you sign up. You go up with your little piece of paper, you read off of it for 2 minutes, telling them again, I work at a homeless shelter in South Bend, and these are the issues that I encounter. This bill you're discussing right after I finish talking is not going to fix it. I need you to do this. it can be really impactful. I'm at the State House the entire legislative session, as much as I can be. And I see people do this all the time in the legislature to ask questions. They want to know why you think that. They do sometimes ask, what else would you do? So if you're able to get down there, worthwhile. Something that may be a little bit easier is just speaking to legislators about your ideas and issues. Lots of opportunities for that, especially right now, because the legislative session just ended. All of those state representatives, they all just went back to their districts. They're back in Muncie, they're back in South Bend and Bloomington, et cetera. So what you can do is just call them, their number's on their website, and say, I want to set up a meeting. I want to give you a tour of my facilities where I house people, and I want to introduce you to some folks, and I want to know what you're going to be doing next year at the State House. They take those meetings. Their schedules are booked. It is definitely worth your time to try and do that this summer. And then another option, for people who are really big right now, that's writing an action alert email. So we are back in session, organizations like mine will send emails every once in a while, because we track legislation really closely, so you don't have to. And we see that there's an opportunity, something is just on the cusp, and it's a really important bill, and before it's passed, but we need the legislators to hear from people more to say that they want it to pass. So we email you if you subscribe, and we say, this bill's got to be heard, here's why it's awesome. We don't know if it's gonna make it out though. We need you to call or email. That's our action alert. That's another opportunity again to engage if you feel ready to do that. And it is really impactful. Trust me, I wish more people would do it. It would help so much. So really anywhere on here, I just want you to consider this a map. You can find a place for yourself. Hopefully these dissections of big P policy and little P policy help. But you have options is my message to you. So now we're going to pivot to a little activity. So this activity we're calling busting common misperceptions. So it's got advocacy skills, what you've got here in partnership. It's going to be really fun. Please scan your QR code. If you guys have kids, you can go home tonight and tell them that you play adult cooking. It's going to be great.
So the slides next or?
Give it 1 second, so just go ahead and scan it, folks, and when you scan it, your phone is gonna act like, when you tap the link that appears, it's gonna say there's nothing there, it's because you haven't switched, so just give it a second, it's a folding screen. So scan it with your phone camera, tap the link that appears, and then just wait a second for us to transition the slides.
And all of you get an A plus, not only for sticking around for last session, but for being tech wizards.
Yeah. All right, I think we're gonna go ahead and change screen now. If you still didn't get it, folks, that's okay, because there's a website at the top, and you just enter the code. So you can join anytime throughout this if you need to. Yep, go ahead and present, that'd be great. Yep, present anyway. All right.
It will be anonymous answers. We just want to get, they can't, right, I can't. Oh. We won't know who's answering.
Yes, it is completely anonymous. It's just for fun for us to see where people are thinking about what they know about these things.
Nice, that's all.
Okay, so if you'd like people to join, you can see it now. I apologize for holding screen. We're good to go on to the next screen. You should be able to hit the enter space bar or something.
You're good.
Here.
There it is.
All right.
Okay, question number 1.
Awesome. Okay, go ahead and enter. Let's start. Question number 1. Right.
The question is partnership saving time and money.
30 seconds here. Anybody can answer, and then we'll see the results again, totally anonymous. Oh, and we'll cut off if everybody finishes. So let's do a race against the clock. Just look it real fast.
97.
All right, everyone's voted. Good job, guys.
This one's for me, and sorry, it was too question. It can be both, to be honest. It can save you a ton of time and money, or it can suck every inch of money out of it. So, no, if they've done well, it is 100% true. If nurtured, developed, and administered well, it definitely saves you money and time. If not, It definitely costs you opportunity costs, your soul and your life.
All right, we go to the next one, and guys, that was the only trick question, I promise. Just
Yeah. Kevin's mad at me that I did a trick question, so.
Yeah, that's okay. So, you can use your first time, sure. No, that's okay. My first time using it too, I'm sorry, Mom. All right, government agencies make policy too. I told you this one, so it should be really easy. If you get this wrong, I'm gonna judge a little bit. Or you're going to be offended, that's probably more likely. All right, that number 5. Government agencies make policy too. All right, you did it again, good. Oh, God, stop yelling. Policy too. They get passed down those big laws that are super broadly made, and they have to interpret it, and I'm sure they don't always enjoy that, but that just gives them an opportunity to create some policy. That's it.
You also create programs that are policy based, like a STELLA program for OKRA, emergency rental assistance for IECDA. So they are responsible for, providing that framework for your actions.
Yeah, all right, well, that's good. Great, got it. So you must be a registered lobbyist to do any kind of lobbying at all. We didn't talk about this, I'm curious to know if people have an idea. You must be a registered lobbyist to do any kind of lobbying at all. All right, let's do it again. Okay, you must be, okay, that's really good. You do not have to be a registered lobbyist. If you do a lot of lobbying, then you're recording so much time that it would require you to do it. And if be associated, I'm a registered lobbyist because I spend a lot of time at the State House, too much time.
I cannot because I do not.
There you go. But she could still go. She could still go and do lobbying because she doesn't have to register. So, it's good to have that kind of knowledge. Again, there are not nearly as many barriers as people think to go into lobbying and making a specific ask to legislators. You do not have to be a registered lobbyist.
And signing on the letters of support, things like that is not a lobbying activity, correct?
Correct.
So you don't have to report time or, be a lobbyist to do that as well.
It's only about a specific ask. Remember, you can contact them, you can have full conversations, tell them all about your work. It is the specific ask that makes it a lobbying moment. And again, if you have questions, full advocacy. They have lawyers who will answer your calls.
Coalitions and collectives have to be registered nonprofits in order to take public stances. So I don't understand.
That's all right. That group I mentioned, the Evansville House, that is, maybe not a full coalition, but it's collaborative. Do they have to be their own registered nonprofit if they want to collectively contact a legislator and say, we care about this? Yeah, they don't have to be. So you can take on a name, my coalitions that I convene, these statewide coalitions with literally thousands of people are not registered organizations on their own. You still have to report any lobbying you do, but Prosperity Indiana reports ours, and other people in the coalition report theirs in their organization. You don't have to create a whole new organization to come together with people in your community and take a stand together, even if it's a political stand. You do not have to register a whole new organization. Again, another barrier that a lot of people can insist, you have to, create a new nonprofit. That's a lot of work. I don't want to do that either. You don't have to. So that's a good thing.
You can serve many roles as a partner. Those roles don't have to be the same throughout the partnership. Sometimes I'm a cheerleader, sometimes I'm the leader.
All right, here we go. I love it. I love it.
Is that helpful? Any quick feedback from this as we move forward?
Listen to my time. Cool. Again, don't miss on your kids, we played adult Kahoot today, they'll know exactly what that means.
And be thankful, one of the ideas we get around was having me do a family feud up here, so it's an easy way out to get some information across. Just a couple parting thoughts. First of all, my personal, as someone who's done conferences for 36 years, my personal thanks for sticking around to the end to our Vikings. And I appreciate it. But as we leave, I want to keep reinforcing three things that I said if possible. It's a little like eating healthy. When you do it, you get a lot of return. You can take many different roles at many different times if the partnership is nurtured, administered, and created well. Plus, look for partnerships everywhere you can and know what role you're going to play before you walk into the room to avoid what we talked about, those opportunity costs or the soul sucking aspects of this work. Also, please remember, housing is a homelessness issue, but it is not, housing alone doesn't solve this issue. Community solves issue, making it very complex and too important to do by ourselves. Okay. Okay, the other last thing is, if you're working in your organizations within the IHCDA or state government structure, know that if you are not at the table, you're gonna be on the menu. So consider to look for ways to communicate effectively, positively, and strongly your experience. Those with lived experience at the table, not that, oh, here's a poster child for homelessness. No. Actual authentic conversations that can then inform the complicated decisions that the small P policy organizations make. Does that make sense to folks? All right,
All right, hold on.
don't be the uptrend.
Hold on, I see what you're all doing, there was in college recently, you're all shuffling around, getting ready to leave class, just give me a second, we're almost done, I'm 2 more minutes, out of my sleep. All right, so I just want to remind you, my takeaway, my parting thought, is to try and harness that collective power that's in partnerships. So we started talking about partnerships, but there is collective power in it, you can be an advocate, and if you're an advocate together, it can be huge, really, I do this all the time, it is so important to work together on these issues. So, some options, again, provide options. You can create your local partnership. Again, not every single house thing that I talked about, anybody can do that. You don't have to register a new nonprofit to come together with your local folks who are geographically close to you or you already share info with, and even take a stand when it's time to do that. You don't have to register a whole new thing, just call them. It is worth your time. Or, organizations that are, great. The organizations that are in your field, so, community land trusts are not all clustered together in a certain city, they're all over the state, but they still talk to each other because they have the same issues and they sometimes advocate together too. So that's about as well, not just in your local area, people you can collaborate with, but other places too. And then, here's time for my little plug. You can also join a larger coalition. There are larger coalitions already out there that are already building collective power that you can just contribute to. You don't have to start something from the ground up. You guys are so busy, I know that. And no one expects you to be able to, stampede the state house right now. But there are people who are already kind of doing that. So if you just tag along, you can get that information, you can get those opportunities. And then when you're ready and you have time, then you can participate. So again, I will plug here. So, I convene the statewide Commissioner Housing Needs Coalition. We have just under 2,000 members. We are easily going to surpass 2,000 members, probably by the end of this month. That's really exciting for me. And this group, we talk to legislators, but we also educate you guys, our members, all the time. We do newsletters, webinars, things like that to help you know what's going on. So you don't have to track legislation all the time to know that something might pass and hurt you in your work or help you in your work. That's what we're here for. So if you scan this QR code, you can subscribe to the Hoosier Housing Needs Coalition. It's free. It's literally just an email subscription, but we would be so glad to have you. And if you decide you want opportunities to engage, I send it to you all the time. Not too much at once. Other options though, I don't want to just do a self plug here. There's some other good options. There is the National Low-Income Housing Coalition and also the National Alliance to End Homelessness. These groups are obviously the federal level, of course, but they provide great data, really great options to engage with are interested in that federal level. I use them all the time in my job. Great information. So please stand if you are and consider joining us, or just email me. I'd be happy to tell you more about it if you're not ready to commit those yet. But my biggest takeaway is try and harness that collective power. You can be an advocate. It's really not that hard. It's not as barrier filled as people think. And if you can engage in any way, it is worth it. So thank you.
I have a very, very dear uncle, and he and my dad got along really well and loved to shoot the crap with each other. And every time he left my house, he would look to my father, pull out his pants, curtsy and say, "Mother told me to tell you I had a good time." I did. Thank you. I hope this is how much me.
Thank you, Gail and Marie, for a great presentation, and thank you all to the presenters who have presented today. I know that I am between you and getting on the road, and I just want to say a couple of words. First of all, I thank you for taking the time out today to come to our Spring Development Day. I hope that you've enjoyed it. We were looking forward to our Fall Development Day because planning starts on Monday. Our Fall Development Day is going to be held in partnership with Indiana Housing Conference in September. The dates are September 26th and 27th. It'll be in Indianapolis at the Indianapolis Marriott, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you and other people who are in this housing arena that we are in. I'm also very excited to be part of the new direction that the Indiana Balance of State POC Board of Directors is taking our network. I'm honored to work with these amazing people and appreciate their leadership, their guidance, and their support, and everything that we're doing. I hope you've seen some of the things that they are spearheading: a new logo, a new strategic plan, and a new committee structure that will take effect soon. And the staff is poised and ready to lean into partnering with you as we build on the success we've already experienced throughout the year. I mentioned at lunch that we've grown from 8 to 28 staff people. That's a lot of great people. And with that, what that means is that we have staff that are dedicated to certain functions that hopefully will boost what we're doing as a collaborative applicant. And that means bringing in more funding to Indiana. Just in the past year, we just got a result from our COC FY 2022. We increased our funding by 7%. Yeah. What that means is that we have a brand new family-oriented rent-free housing project. We have 3 rural-focused housing projects that will be starting as soon as the brand new program that HUD has initiated. And we also had 2 infrastructure expansion grants that will help us strengthen our CE system and our HMIS system. So I'm very excited about all of that. We're not resting on what we've been doing. Jean is working on our youth homelessness demonstration. COC grant application that we are working on. It is due June 27th, and we are very excited, and I think we have a good shot this year of bringing additional money in to help end youth homelessness. So I'm very excited about that. And they're poised to take whatever other things are thrown their way, even though they'll probably say, no, I don't want to do that again, but we're ready if there is another no vote or something that has chosen us to apply for that funding as a collaborative application. And we're going to need all of you to participate in that in whatever way is deemed necessary. So there's a lot of work to be done by all of us. And I look forward to your participation in the next chapter of the Indiana Balanced Estate. I want to end today's conference with an African proverb that I've heard at other conferences, and I think it's apropos, and I use it with my staff a lot too. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I hope that we can be doing this together. And I trust that you've learned a lot today and are energized with the challenges ahead. I hope that you've leaned into partnerships so that together we can end homelessness in Indiana. And finally, I wish you safe travels back to your communities and the hard work that you're doing there. Again, safe travels, and we'll see you in the fall.